Hey, hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and today we're talking about my favorite topic, AI. I hope you sensed the sarcasm there. Okay, so quickly, I actually kind of wrote out a script for this one so that I wouldn't be all over the place, but you know, I do tend to ramble, so we'll see. And then also I just want to mention, there are still a few spots for my Christmas markets trip that is in December, and there are still spots for Thailand, that's in February, and also Slovenia, that's not till next October. Link down below if you want all of the information, but just a reminder. But this video is about artificial intelligence. And actually, throughout my little script, I go between AI and LLMs because they're really large language models. That's what they are. They're not thinking, but we're gonna get there. So within the last week or so, there have been multiple headlines about generative AI usage. There was a piece in The Atlantic about Daggermouth by H.M. Wolf, which was recently traditionally published. Another writer was offered like a $2.5 million deal for a book that was set to publish in 2028, but it was pulled because they suspected it was AI. And now we have popular YouTuber, science communicator Hank Green, who has come out and admitted that he's been using ChatGPT to help him find research in papers to create his videos. And then also we can't forget several months ago where we had the debacle with Mia Ballard and her book Shy Girl that was pulled because of the AI suspicions in the book. So this is just a popular topic, and I feel like it's only going to get worse, and I hate it here. So I've talked about my feelings about generative AI, and to sum it up, I hate it, especially in artistic spaces, educational research spaces. I just think it's terrible, and even for everyday things like making your grocery list, it's just, we already have so many modern conveniences, which a lot of them are really great for people who have a disability or limited time or maybe elderly, all of these different things, okay? We don't need to go into that. However, I think things that people are swapping out, like making a grocery list, making a meal plan, simple things that you can figure out your own or like type into a Google or something and find an answer. People are now just going into a ChatGPT and asking, and I hate it. I'm just like, we talk about brain rot from scrolling, valid, but like also you're just rotting your brain voluntarily by not even thinking. I've heard of people responding to text messages, putting it into ChatGPT, or they can't reply to an email without doing that, or writing an Instagram caption. Loser behavior. Get a freaking song lyric like everybody else. I really do hate it. So if you're new to this channel, now you know. People may say, what do those authors and Hank Green, like what does that have in common? Hank didn't state that he used AI to write a book because he has written some books in the past. But I am saying that this is a race issue. Okay, partially or a lot, and I know people won't like that, but it is a factor. I think we could talk about gender as well, but like I think race is the bigger issue here, because Mia Ballard, H.M. Wolf, and the author of the novel Jerry Falade, I'm not sure you pronounce the last name, are black. Hank Green is white, so it does matter. Now, I did make a video months ago about Mia Ballard and Shy Girl, and then like I had a little follow up in another video. But in the articles and things that I read about Mia Ballard, it was that her book was already published in the UK and it was set to publish in the US, but then it was this convoluted story. I can link the videos. Her book was like put into a program, and it was like basically coming back saying that this was heavily written by AI. Mia has said that she did not use AI, but like she had a friend edit the book for her, and that they may have used AI, but that she didn't. And so they, using the detector, determined this book was mostly written by AI, and then they pulled it from publication. But it is important to note that these AI detectors are basically AI themselves, and so they're like not 100%, you know, bulletproof. It's not like, oh, definitely this thing can tell us, because it's a large language model to to determine language of a large language model? Like, we don't have a foolproof way to determine that yet. And so now we have H.M. Wolf's novel, which was an indie book, got really popular, was picked up by traditional publishing, and came out like a week or two ago, had its publishing date. And this Atlantic article, I think, came out like the same week, if not the same day. So I will read you part of that article because I think it's weird. And I can put a link. I got a free link to the article on the Atlantic, and I'll put it down in the description. I don't know how many people it works for, but maybe it'll work for you. So it talks about most self-published authors can only dream of the success of something like Daggermouth, and that it spent months on the bestseller list, ranked #1 in Amazon science fiction romance, and then talks about until recently AI fiction has been easy to dismiss as slop, but now they're saying, but if a book as beloved as Daggermouth were written with a chatbot, it could raise an awkward question: could AI fiction be getting good? So in a new study, researchers randomly selected more than 14,000 Kindle ebooks and ran them through Pangram, an AI detection tool. 1 in 5 came back as more than 25% AI written. Daggermouth returned 60%, according to an underlying data set that the authors shared with me. Those numbers, they acknowledge, tell us only so much. The researchers grouped together text that Pangram has flagged as either AI generated or moderately AI assisted, the latter of which can mean that AI was used to edit or polish human writing, or vice versa. And although Pangram has a low rate of false positives, it is not perfect. So the study's authors, led by Tuhin Chakrabarty, a professor of computer science at Stony Brook University, devised another check. They scanned each book's text for rare expressions, strings of at least 5 words in a specific order that also appear in other suspected AI books, but almost never in human written ones. Daggermouth had many of them. For instance, the following sentence appeared near the end of a multi-page sex scene in chapter 27. They collapsed together, a tangle of sweat, slicked limbs, and racing hearts. That same sentence, word for word, also shows up in another self-published ebook by a different author. Or consider this line: her pulse thundered in her ears, drowning out the murmurs of the crowd. It's also in an ebook by another author who has published more than 400 different titles on Amazon in the past 3 years. So the study has yet to be peer-reviewed, and to be clear, there's no definitive proof that Wolf used AI. The suggestion that I use generative AI to write Daggermouth is wholly untrue, Wolf said in a statement sent by her lawyer. I wrote this book myself. I have been outspoken about my opposition to generative AI and what it's doing to writer, artists, and the creative community. I don't believe it belongs in the writing process. Referencing Pangram's limitations, Wolf added that accusations like these have real consequences for authors, and they should not be made on the basis of technology that is known to be unreliable. That's the big thing right there, I think. Especially publishing this piece being like, oh, we don't have any way to determine, but you put out this article mostly talking about one book the week that it was published. Very interesting. So, we keep hearing about things that appear to be AI, but we have no way to 100% prove that yet. There are things that keep coming out saying this is a way to detect AI writing. One of them, for example, is the use of M dashes, and that is one of the most egregious ones because people, including myself, love to use M dashes. And it's like, so why are these things that they're saying are AI generated or written by the large language models sounding like human writing? Is it because they're trained on human writing? Oh my God, isn't that crazy? I don't understand. So the author, Jerry Falade, had an anticipated novel called Call Me, I'll Hide the Body. Big auction. Again, it got $2.5 million from Minotaur, which is a subsidiary of Macmillan, or an imprint of Macmillan, and it was set to publish in 2028. So it was a highly anticipated manuscript. Like, when they read it, they thought it was incredible. He produced an incredible manuscript that dazzled us and the top publishing professionals around the world. Unfortunately, we are no longer able to authenticate how the manuscript fully evolved from origin to completion. And my question, obviously that's an issue now, because beforehand, I don't know if that was an issue. If you had to prove, I'm not an author, maybe you have had to prove your like drafts and everything of your writing, but that's obviously a thing now. During the submission process, we vetted the manuscript with Jerry for AI and felt trusting in his reassurance that it was written without utilizing AI as a resource in the writing or editorial process. We can no longer substantiate that, and we're withdrawing the book. He said that halfway through the submissions process, an editor raised concerns that the book had signs of potential AI use. Gerald said Europa opted against using AI detection software to check the manuscript, saying Falade was clear and credible in his explanation. However, after a meeting on the 29th of July, when aspects of his story changed, the agency decided to cut ties, citing the need to have total faith. We feel terrible for putting this into the universe, and the firestorm has caused. The book itself is genius. However, it came to be drafted. It's amazing. The author himself said 3 Black authors received major publishing deals this year, and all 3 later had deals canceled or disrupted following suspicions about AI. There seems to be a troubling assumption that when a Black writer produces work that attracts significant attention, the work could not possibly be their own. Meanwhile, there are popular white writers who have publicly mentioned using AI for their writing processes, and they're still doing fine. And so he didn't name them, but they are referring to Mia Ballard and H.M. Wolf. He said, in my case, rumors began circulating, and within 6 hours, I had been dropped by my agency, deals were paused, and press releases were being issued. He added that AI detection tools are widely known to produce false positives. He said the novel had passed through the first readers, second readers, editor, and acquisition teams, and numerous publishing houses. If the manuscript has shown genuine signs of AI, of being generated by AI, it is difficult to believe that every one of those experienced professionals would have failed to notice. It's a question. Again, I'm not saying that either of these 3 are 100% innocent from using a large language model or AI to help or to fully write their novels. I don't know, but the problem is no one knows for sure. Unless you basically hand in a handwritten manuscript at this point, I don't know if there is a genuine way you can say without a doubt that this was or was not created using generative AI. And so everything's turning into a witch hunt, which I hate. It's happening across so much. I mean, everything just on social media. If you see a cute video of a pet, I'm like, is this an AI video? Art, was this generated by AI? Some things are glaringly obvious and some things are better at hiding that. And so the same for music, for stories. It's just getting really bad out here, and especially for the people who are not using it and then are being falsely accused. It's just really harmful. And you know how many terribly written books that were written by humans exist? Thousands, okay? And it's okay if you don't understand why people don't like them. I have read a Colleen Hoover novel and had a good time, okay? Is it the best written? No, but I enjoyed it. People love Frida McFadden. They're fast-paced, they're easy to read, popcorn reads, they enjoy them. Every book published doesn't need to be a literary masterpiece, have some deep like moral or story. People write campy, trashy, soapy, whatever things all the time with their own. Humans can write a terrible novel, a great novel. You know, there is a spectrum. So automatically looking at something or a certain phrasing or whatever it is, also the speed at which people write, because some people have been writing for a long time before they got published, so they have things that are just been sitting there and just need to be polished. You cannot just automatically say that you think it's written with generative AI. So, to Hank Green. So most people know him. He and his brother, John Green, are very popular. They have several YouTube channels between them with millions of subscribers. John has written books. Hank has written books. 2 of their channels that I'm very aware of are Crash Course and SciShow that provide educational content. The videos, they cover a lot of topics, including a lot of sciences and also like humanities. I haven't followed super close, but like obviously I know of them. I've read some of John Green's novels. I prefer the nonfiction over the fiction. I haven't read Hank's, but he has popped up on my TikTok from here time to time, and like most of the time I'm like, you know, I agree with what he says or I like the video, but I'm just like not a hardcore follower, just to say that. But I would say months ago, or it could have been last year, there was some hubbub because Hank made a video about like the history of knitting, and a lot of people were upset with either like information that he presented, things he left out. Like a lot of knitters made videos saying like this is incorrect, or he didn't think about this, or like obviously he's looking at the lens of it as a man, all of these different things. There was a lot of discourse around that video. And so I'm trying to be a knitter, but I don't know enough about it. So I didn't have an opinion. I watched a few videos, that's it. So now I hadn't heard anything from him recently. But then this popped up. Not my mama. Not right now, mama. Of course, I just opened Threads and somebody said, that all of this originated, because I just saw his statement and I don't know what this came. I thought it was like a video, but so I'll have to look up this. I'll have to look this up, but this person is saying it originated from a Q&A video. Okay, so it did, more suspicion was arise from a video, and then he made a post on Twitter, and I think it might be deleted, but of course I found it on Reddit. And he said, I produced this under a ton of pressure, so I went and checked my process from start to finish. I did use ChatGPT for research on this script, and watching it, I definitely get an AI feel, so I think it's fair to say I was relying too much on generated notes. That's the thing I've been doing, and it's a bad habit at a time when I've overcommitted myself. But I just went to the notes in the script for this, and neither contained the I appreciate the pushback line, so that particular moment was an ad lib in reference to my guest pushing back on me saying that words are purely made up. But anyway, I'm gonna go to this thing he posted, which was on Reddit. 3 things to start. 1, I'm mortified that I have let so many people down, and I think I understand how that happened. 2, I'm gonna change things about how I make stuff. 3, Complexly's AI policy is public and well considered and adhered to by the whole team. I think it's worth reading. Complexly is the nonprofit that makes Crash Course and SciShow and a bunch of other shows that I do not write for. The thing that everything we do is based on is that you know what I'm saying are my thoughts coming from my brain and the way I decide. I have made that harder, and I'm sorry. I've been relying too heavily on AI as a research aid. It can be very useful for this task, giving me access to a lot of papers I didn't know existed really fast, but I think that has been to the detriment of my work because it has not given me the freedom to find all of my own ways into and around a topic. But for clarity, the origin of claims in my videos are not ChatGPT said this. I've been using AI to locate papers and other resources for learning about topics. You are still getting my takes based on what I read, know, and learn. I think that people have said this in this thread about me diluting myself is what people have said in this thread about me diluting myself is spot on. Ultimately, what I am most scared of is ruining myself for people, but I have not been managing my impulses well. You need to know that my words are mine. I don't think that this hasn't been true, but I've been moving so fast that my own process isn't actually clear to me, and I want to have it be a guarantee moving forward. What I can't guarantee though is that we will agree about this technology or what to do with it. I think it's good. We need a lot of kinds of folks critiquing this technology. I'm not a pure AI hater, which people in the AI industry know. So when I say the way these models were trained deeply disturbs me, that lands differently. When I say that I think that the speed at which these companies are trying to consolidate economic power should freak out everyone in the world, that's coming from someone who has nuanced takes. When I say I worry about climate impacts of this rollout, that is not me saying I don't think this tech should ever exist. It's me saying, for God's sake, please don't make our biggest problem worse. It is very likely that you, the reader, and I disagree on how or even whether AI should be used. I think it makes sense for that disagreement to exist, but I have also always believed that my audience is more likely to be right than I am. You know what this feels like in a way I can't, and I am so sorry for diluting myself in this way and harming the thing that we have all built together. As for the why don't you just make less, no one is making you do this, I'm not sure that's how I work. I've been feeling the pressure of, oh, I have this little video idea, I need to get it out real fast so I can get to the more important stuff, and I create when I feel that pressure. But making more things does not make me better things. It does not make the big thing that we've been doing for 20 years better. I know that I can manage myself more effectively. I want to make videos like the one I made yesterday on Hank's channel where the writing was the whole thing and I felt it all the way down and have been so enriched by people's responses to it. And sure, I'm probably going to make dumb, unscripted, straight to camera thoughts videos sometimes, and then I'll play connections. But mostly I need to come to terms with the fact that the level of dopamine I've been getting from interacting with LLMs, with doing more and more and more, is not healthy for me or good for the world. It is careless and has disconnected me from where people are on this. I was talking about this with Catherine last night and she did not pull any punches. Frankly, neither did John. Neither of them think I've been being healthy. I need to readjust. So what changes? Expect less Hank's channel. It may need to pause for a while. It may be that Hank's channel comes back with writing and research support. It may be that it comes back with just way fewer videos. I'm going to spend this time finishing a video I've been working on for ages that I think really matters. 2, Smush and 4x3 are getting paused as well. If there are bugs, there are bugs. I have a backlog of 4x3 boards right now, and frankly, writing them is usually a solace to me, but if we run out, I am not going to worry about that. So if it just reverts to a static board one day, that'll be that. I do deeply want to support good story and complexly in whatever way I can. So there may be some stuff on that front, but the reliance on me has always been risky. So we need to build for that as well. I'm very sorry for harming the thing this is all based on. Something I just thought about is when he's talking about writing is like, again, I don't know their finances, but just on Hank's channel alone, he has millions of subscribers, and then they have like a company throughout. I don't know if he gets paid from TikTok, but I'm like, why don't you hire a researcher? Why don't you hire an assistant or somebody to say, here's the topic that I'm interested in. Can you find me these research and papers? That's another thing that AI just eliminates jobs from things that humans can do and do better. So now, of course, in my mind, and some other people's like, did you use ChatGPT to write that? Or maybe it was you. I don't know. But before this, there had been people who had been skeptical who watch a lot of his videos and have been like, some of this is feeling weird, or some of this information is not correct, and thinking that he was using AI in some capacity, and obviously that is what he's been doing. I went to the Nerd Fighters Reddit. That's where he posted his statement, and there were some other posts, so I'm going to share them. This one is an image, and someone said Hank has started using AI generated images in his educational videos. And so they've edited, Hank has removed the image from the video so it no longer shows up at the stated timestamp. Hank commented, I had actually just removed the image from the video before I saw this Reddit thread. It was me that put it in though. I saw it and was like, well, that's a useful illustration, but then I saw it in the video and was like, ew, gross. So yeah, same reaction everyone else had. So just, another instance that he does seem to use AI when he's researching for videos. This other post said, Hank's use of AI for his new book. Something that Hank has omitted from his response to the critique of his AI use, and that many others do not seem to be aware of, is that on the initial upload of last week's Delete This podcast, he admitted to using an LLM to merge 2 chapters of his book together. Regardless of his use of it as research, using it in a way that directly affects his writing is extremely concerning to me. It makes me much less likely to read his book. It is very difficult to use LLMs for editing and it not affecting the writing, as the outputs and suggestions will be in AI voice. It is even more concerning to me that he chose to cut this detail out of the final upload. Hank commented and said, trust me, this book is 100% human typing. I have been typing for so long. I asked an LLM for advice on the merge and talked through some various options before deciding how I wanted to do it. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but I didn't say, please turn these 2 chapters into 1 chapter. I cut it out of the final episode, if I remember correctly, because Catherine and I ended up having a somewhat tense conversation about me working so much on Smush and 4x3, or maybe I cut it out because I thought it sounded bad and was afraid people would clip it. I mean, him saying, I asked it for advice on the merge and talked through. I don't know if he's saying he talked through it with the LLM or with someone else, but I just also think that's concerning to ask it for advice. It does not think. And so, of course, there are some people who are like, I'm never watching another Hank Green video. I knew he was sus, blah, 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 blah. Never trust a white man. I mean, valid. But most of the reactions I've seen are of disappointment, of feeling like misled, because you have this person who has a massive platform who is basically, I'm not saying he considers himself an educator. Like, he has, I think, his bachelor's and master's in science, in biology and environmental science, but at least as a science communicator, somebody who is explaining things to the general public in a way that a lay person can understand, which is just so helpful, because some things about science and niche topics is that the language sometimes is a barrier, and he's breaking that down. So people have every right to feel like disappointed, misled, some people say betrayed by him. And then of course there's people like, you guys, this is why we can't ever have anything. You freaking leftists. The second somebody comes out and says anything, you cancel people. No one is canceling this man, okay? And of course they're like, what he did is so admirable and it's so amazing that he came out and he said these things, and I'm just so proud. Like, Under the Desk News, who I have thought is shady for a long time, posted, I'm very proud of my friend Hank Green for talking about how addictive LLMs can be and how to pressure what? Does anybody? Okay. I'm very proud of my friend Hank Green for talking about how addictive LLMs can be and how to pressure Let's proofread. How the pressure to produce makes leaning on AI seem impossible to avoid. He's taking a break to recalibrate, which is a good example for all of us. We just want Hank Green. We don't need overstretched shortcuts via AI Hank just to have more Hank. You're plenty of Hank. Okay, fine, sure. But, and I know, proofread, I know in my last video I had the wrong date. Be quiet. But I like this person's response to that. Look, I like Hank Green for the most part, but him getting thanked for talking about how addictive LLMs are, and people give him a pass as pure white male privilege. It is. I also, that part worries me, that he is like concerned, or he's been getting so much dopamine from it. And that also makes me hesitant to believe that it was just pulling papers. Like if you're just using it to find like research and papers, I don't know, I guess you can get dopamine from that. Again, I'm not a scientist, but it's like, what else were you using it for? I don't get why Hank Green defenders are acting like he's just a precious, vulnerable little birthday boy who needs to be insulated from criticism. Dude is a cis white multi-millionaire who's built his entire aesthetic around looking smart. I think it's fine to criticize him when he does some unsmart shit. I mean, it's as simple as that. There aren't many people who try as hard as Hank to make the world a better place. If you're willing to cancel Hank over this, be prepared to run out of allies and help pretty soon. This response: no one is canceling Hank Green. We're reconsidering his credibility as a science educator. If he's unwilling to do the work or hire someone in his field to find the research, it's difficult and time consuming, so maybe he should step back. He broke trust. He's shilling. It's unconscionable that someone who claims to care about the environment will use a tool that is so blatantly harmful to that environment. That's what people are saying. So I think that, yes, it's good that he has realized this. I don't know if it was just amount of people who kept, you know, saying things, because he responds on this thread. He said that I think what people have said in this thread about me diluting myself is spot on. I don't know if it finally was like so many people are saying this and that brought him to this point, or if he came to this point by himself. But, you know, I'm glad that he's recognized that and is going to step back and like cut back down on some things and hopefully stop that. And hopefully he can come back and rely solely on his brain or hire help to create content. And I also understand feeling the pressure. Like, I have all of these ideas and usually many of them don't come to fruition because I'm like, I either don't have the time or I'm worried about like, this project is going to take a long amount of time. YouTube algorithm just throws you to the wolves if you don't post every week, and so then they just get buried in my idea folder because they're long-term projects, and I'm like, I need to churn out something short-term. So like, I understand pressure and thinking and why you have things in your mind wanting to get them out, but like, he has the luxury of taking his time. He doesn't have a small or medium channel where you need to post every week so the algorithm will maybe do you a favor. Again, on one channel, he has 3 million subscribers, and they have multiple channels. So like, you have the luxury to take some time or to hire someone to help you. You don't have to do it all on your own, and you don't have to be putting out a video every week. He's one of those size channels are the ones who can put out one video a month and still do fine. Again, I don't know his income, but I think he's fine, okay? So he doesn't say this. I know they have like the nonprofit that like backs all the things. So I don't know if there's people there's a board, there's investors or something watching output or something, but like, to me, what it looks like is like, you have time, and so you just have to tell yourself to slow down, and like, things are gonna come out when they come out. But I worry about the dopamine aspect of it. It's like, are you using it more than just research? Are you using it to write things? Are you using it in other aspects of your life where you're getting this like high from it? I don't know. Can therapy help? I don't know. But people are justified in feeling bamboozled. The majority of his content is educational, so that's supposed to teach you something. So I understand feeling like someone just lied to your face because you're taking a shortcut, especially in this day and age of everyone taking a fucking shortcut, of everyone using ChatGPT to do the simplest things, for people writing papers and passing classes using this. It is disheartening to see someone who, especially at this level, you know, of fame and visibility, admit to doing this. So I do think it's interesting watching the reaction. Like, I read you some of those posts from Threads. His is about video content, not a book. But if one of these authors one of these black authors said anything about using ChatGPT or any kind of generative AI to even help research a certain topic, they would be thrown to the wolves. Who was it? I know there's been some other white author who said they used ChatGPT to like help them with ideas or something, and their book deal wasn't canceled. I can't remember who it was. But there's speculation that AI has been used to write, and they're like, cancel the whole thing, throw it in the trash, these articles get published. If this was a black science creator, this was like a Hank Green, but they were black, they would be, eviscerated by the internet. Hank Green is not canceled. He doesn't have like a traditional job that he's gonna get fired from. He's going to be fine.
Are we seriously applauding Hank Green for having the courage to admit to using AI right on the heels of unfounded AI accusations hitting black authors' careers like a truck? Cancel culture is stupid. Punitive, carceral mindsets are stupid. I think he did a good thing in outlining what went wrong, why, and expressing a desire to do better. He also needs to loudly, meaningfully advocate for AI regulations as the bare minimum of repair, and I won't support his work until that happens.
And there's always going to be extremes, right? And there are a lot of problems that I see in everyday conversations that I do feel like the left has issues versus the right. I don't think this is one of them.
This person said, the Hank Green situation has really illustrated to me why the left has been losing ground to the right for the past decade. While the right cultivates a cult-like environment where there's a sense of freedom and loyalty to each other, the left becomes more and more rigid about what's acceptable, discarding anyone who stumbles over ever-tightening rules. There seems to be no grace, no consideration for the person's history, just a desire to cast out and make them pay. Now, while I agree that the right cultivates a cult-like environment, I don't think that's something that we want on the left. Solidarity we need, yes, but we don't want a cult-like environment. I think there is nuance for a lot of things. Some things are black and white, like genocide is bad, but there is nuance for a lot of things. So like, no, we don't want a cult-like environment. And I do understand and have seen a lot of conversations, especially online, where if certain people don't believe or do a certain thing, say a certain thing, wear a certain thing, that people don't consider them liberal enough or leftist enough. But I think in this situation, it's people, again, like I said, being disappointed in someone that they thought was trustworthy, using something else besides his brain to present this information, and that's what they're saying. So anyway, I would love to know your opinion on that. Do you think this is like a leftist issue?
And this is why I think race is an issue here, because if this was a black person doing the same thing, they would not receive as much support and grace as Hank Green is. He also has had some things he said in the past about AI that give me side eye. Obviously in this, he said he's not an AI hater, okay? Then he's also had, I don't know if it was a video or just a TikTok saying that like AI and data centers don't use as much water as people are alleging. And I'm not a scientist, so I don't know, maybe not. I know there are a lot of things that we do that use a lot of water, factory farming, but I was like, I don't know, side eye. So all of this to say, the usage of LLMs or large language models is harmful, especially in creative and educational spaces. They are trained on information, so research papers, books, movies, TV, content, images that already exist, and they are just memorizing that. And then there's algorithms in them that basically program it so that it can give you the best response. They are not thinking. It is not thinking for you. It's not truly intelligent, okay? And so, again, an educational creator using that as a shortcut is harmful and disappointing. We don't have solid ways to determine that something is created by an LLM or by generative AI, especially in writing. We shouldn't rush to judge, tear down, cancel book deals on suspicion alone. Again, I don't have the solution. I'm not in tech on what is the way to determine that besides everybody handwriting their manuscript. But I just think generally there needs to be, the publishing industry, I don't know, they need to brainstorm. They need to have a conference or something, because I just don't think this is right. And again, I have no proof. I don't know. Maybe these authors did use generative AI, but maybe not. But now we're canceling like a book deal. Daggermouth has not been pulled to my knowledge, but it's just a worrisome trend, if I will say, because there are books that are completely AI generated slop that just, especially on Kindle, on Amazon, because there's really no barrier, you can just upload it and there's lots of mess. So I don't know what the answer is. But then also, the way the public reacts to people based on race will never not, I'm always gonna be giving side eye to that. Because as a Black creator, and then if you think about a Black author, actor, musician, anything, you're always just held to a higher standard. You have to be walking on eggshells, on fear of making a misstep, misspeaking, misquoting something. And this is not to excuse anybody doing actual harm, okay? This is for simple mistakes, misunderstandings, things that you can learn from and do better. But we are just held to the fire way quicker than our white counterparts. And that's just a fact. So I would just, for the most part, I'm seeing, yes, disappointment, but also grace, and like, Hank Green will be fine, he'll come back. And I just would hope that we could do that for all people. Years ago, someone, I don't know where it was, but I know I talked about it in a video, saying that the internet is not a place where people like to give, or people like to say they're like learning and listening, but the internet doesn't really like you to do that. And I think the answer really is the internet doesn't like you to do that if you're not white. You get so many chances and excuses and another attempt. But when you are Black or a person of color, then usually it's just like, oh, you did this one thing, you're done. Can't trust you ever again. And so I just wish everybody could, you know, we could have grace for more people. This video is not going to stop that. Obviously, I'm not going to solve racism here. As a society, I don't want to say we're doomed, but there's just so many things going on right now that make me very concerned, and especially in the educational arena, especially in the United States, the erosion of public education and the drop in the literacy rate and people using generative AI for simple things, not using their brain. It does make me worry. It does. So that's it. I would like to know your thoughts. If you are a subscriber of Hank's, did you have any kind of feeling before he said anything that he was using a chat GPT to help him? What do you think of his statement? I would like you to know that this draft, improper grammar, all I wrote myself. This is just me typing into notes on my MacBook. That's it. So, you know, you can use it or lose it. Thank you for watching. And if you want to travel with me, the trips will be linked in the description. Stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreen. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.